Breaking news tonight in the Iran nuke deal. Big question is, did the Obama administration withhold a secret side deal from Congress? The U.S. House says yes, and they actually passed a resolution today in an attempt to stop the deal in its tracks. Plus, tonight in a 6:30 point of view exclusive, you're going to get a chance to hear from Senator Heitkamp as to why she chose to support the Iran nuke deal. Good evening and welcome to 6:30 point of view. I'm Chris Berg. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's get right to the breaking news tonight. And our guest, he joins us live from Washington, D.C. It's Congressman Kevin Cramer. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us, sir.
Thanks for the opportunity, Chris.
All right, Kevin, for you, probably not. For me, this Iran nuke deal can be extremely complicated. So, like I'm a fifth grader, explain to me sort of what happened today in the House that you guys are now trying to make a play here to stop this thing in its tracks.
Well, the first thing that happened, Chris, that's I think important to let people know about is that the Senate does not have enough votes to stop the deal. So that changes the strategy of the leadership of the House. We need to do all we can to try and stop it. And what we did today is we passed a resolution that is a sense of the House that the President has not fulfilled his obligation to the law that he signed, the Review Act, the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act, which states that we are to have access to all deals, including side deals, before the clock starts for the review as per the law. Well, we find out, as you know, we found out a week or so ago that Iran has a side deal with the IAEA, that's the International Atomic Energy Agency, that they get to self-inspect their the Parchin site, which is a military site. We understand there might be other side deals that we've not seen, and the law is specific and clear. We are to see the side deals as part of the Review Act. So the clock, the 60-day clock that started nearly 60 days ago now, or at least 50-some, should not have started. So,
Congressman, here's what I'd like to do tonight, because this obviously has turned into a very partisan issue. I don't know of one Republican that's voting for this deal. What I'd like to do, though, at the end of the day, you represent Americans. You represent North Dakota. And so to the best of our ability tonight, because to me, I look at this deal and I'm concerned about my family's security and our national security. When it comes to that, I don't care about red, blue, whatever. I just want to get to the facts. So what I want to get is what you just mentioned about Parchin. I saw the same report. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, one of your colleagues, was on State of the Union on Sunday. She said she sat down with the Obama administration, with Obama, and they said, no, that is not true. Iran will not be able to self-inspect Parchin. So what's the truth?
Well, how about this? How about the President provides us the side deal? That's part of the law, and that's what we're saying. We need to see everything that's part of the law that he signed. 98 senators voted for that law that says we are to see every aspect of this Iranian deal before the clock begins to tick to 60 days before this thing goes into effect. So how are we to make an informed decision if we don't see the deal?
I agree, but you don't answer my question. Is it true or false that they can self-inspect Parchin or not? Because Debbie Wasserman Schultz says no, you're saying yes. I just want to know what's so.
I believe that it does. I've seen evidence that it does. I've heard from briefings from people that are in the know. I've sat through many classified briefings as well. But the point is this, Chris, if they aren't allowed to, then let's see the side deal that they have with the IAEA. We've heard of 2 side deals. Let's see it, and then we'll settle it by seeing it. But speculation isn't part of the law.
And Congressman, you've seen the polls. All the outsiders are the ones that obviously are jumping up in the polls for the GOP presidential race. Big reason why obviously people because they're sick and tired of what's going on in D.C. You guys said you're going to obviously get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Didn't happen. You said you're going to stop immigration with Obama. That didn't happen. So my point is this. What you're doing now with this House resolution, is this just a show vote to sort of appease the American people and say, hey, look, we're really trying to do something, but really you're not? Or are you guys actually going to do something here, put some teeth in this, and put a stop to this deal?
Without a doubt, Chris, tomorrow we're going to vote on a resolution to support the deal. The resolution will fail magnificently. Several Democrats will vote against supporting the deal. But we have a divided government, and at the end of the day, the Senate has to go along. We could pass a resolution of disapproval, which is what the law is set out to do. We could easily do that. The Senate, Harry Reid's got enough Democrats that circled the wagons around the president. These are basic civics realities that we can only do as much as we can in our chamber. It's up to senators to do their job, and it's up to the president to do his. Barack Obama is the president. The reality, Chris, is that this deal was going to go forward one way or another, I suppose. But we still have an obligation to do our part with our votes and to shed as much spotlight on it as possible to set up the possibility of two things. One, that we elect a pro-national defense Republican president in the next election, and two, that we set the table for that president to undo this deal on the first day that he or she is sworn into office.
And Congressman, we had a chance, our D.C. bureau, to sit down with Senator Heidi Heitkamp, and again, I want to get to the truth about what's so here. As you know, she's supporting the deal. Obviously, you're not. I've got a couple of sound bites I want to play for you, and then you and I can break those down and get to hopefully the facts of what's going on here. Here's the first clip from Senator Heidi Heitkamp about why she said yes to the Iran nuke deal.
So, not an easy call, and at the end of the day, based on a lot of discussion, a lot of which, what drove a lot of my decisions are things that I heard in classified briefings. And so that makes it really difficult to sit down and really say, no, this is what I know, this is what I heard from people who aren't political, but people who do this work for a living. This is what I know. And so it makes it really difficult, I think, for people to completely understand. But I think at the end of the day, you have to ask the most important question, which is, what is the alternative if we don't do this?
Congressman, we've got about 2 minutes, sir. Quickly, you were in those classified briefings as well. I assume obviously not the same ones, but in the House. So is there something there, again, objectively, that she saw that says, okay, yes, seeing this objectively in these classified briefings, and I'm going to ask you to obviously to disclose classified information tonight, but that can make you go, okay, here's why I would support this?
Well, the biggest problem I see with that statement is, as I've sat through the briefings, is we gave up anytime, anywhere inspections for managed inspections. We gave up a release of sanctions over time as Iran complies with immediate release of billions, tens of billions of dollars to the #1 state sponsor of terror. We gave up a multiple decades deal for a 1-decade deal, during which time Iran, they lifted the embargo, the arms embargo, and by the end of this year, early next year, the people we're supposed to trust in Russia have already announced they're going to sell them the S-300 air defense system, the #1 air defense system in the world, which makes enforcement on our part and Israel's part nearly impossible. So those are the things I heard in the briefings that caused me to be against it. But I also talked to a lot of North Dakotans, and I haven't found very many that are supportive.
Congressman, I got literally 60 seconds, and one of the things, too, that's missing for me is, okay, so now you're going to maybe change their reactors, and they're not going to be able to enrich uranium and all that kind of stuff. But if you look at Nagasaki, it was a Rubik's Cube size plutonium bomb. If you look at Hiroshima, that was half the size of a loaf of bread nuclear bomb. Now you've got open borders. What says that Iran, because obviously they've been enriching plutonium, just not the weapon grade level, but can't give that to Russia and then go and buy a nuclear bomb from Russia for $100 million now?
Or Russia or North Korea, who they have as close, if not a closer relationship with, and they have military installations that are very similar to North Korea's. They've already been testing with Russia this S-300 system. Yeah, I think all of those are concerns, Chris, that again raise the specter of distrust for me. And it is a matter of trust, and who do you trust, and this idea of that we couldn't do sanctions on our own, baloney. Over half of the money that runs through the world runs through the United States banking system. The world looks to us for leadership in this arena, and I don't see it.
Congressman Cramer, as always, I appreciate your time. One other thing I'll share with our audience and yourself, which I bet you know this, Congressman Cramer, but think about this. We don't trust these people. How are you going to verify half the size of a loaf of bread of uranium? And who knew about the Manhattan Project? When we were doing our own thing here in the U.S., not many people knew about that. You can guarantee you nobody knows what's going on in Iran. Congressman Kevin Cramer, thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, at the end of the show, we're going to pay tribute to what's obviously taking place tomorrow. I'll tell you more about that at the end in our final view. And then coming up next, we sat down with the mayor of Bismarck today. I don't know if you've heard this, but they actually just said, hey, you know what? We're going to allow our school resource officers to now walk around with M4 assault rifles. Good idea or bad idea? You'll hear from Mayor Seminary right after this.